Hello, this is Reverend Joseph Andrew Jensen Sr. Okay. Um, I'm going to start. I have to first talk about being recognized. Now, this is God's war. This is like the sixth video played with God's war on it on YouTube. Then I put about 40 videos under my name, Joseph Andrew Jensen Sr., Reverend Joseph Andrew. Okay? I've written books. The first published book was in 2012 through Author House Publishing. I've had, different authors. Your Online Publicists, Gotham Books, on Kindle. I've sold my books on Amazon, on Walmart. I have my books. As far as my web store and my book sites, I've done what I can do, and yet nobody knows who I am. I wanted to try to press God's coin, change this world over in the year 2025. It could go to 2025. That's how fast this world can change overnight. It might not happen in my whole lifetime. Why? I'm not sure the world wants to know God. This is what I'm trying to tell you. I can prove there's a God, and everybody knows where God's at. But I can't force people. I don't know how to get people to turn to God. Other than everybody goes to God when they're ready to die. There's no atheist in the foxhole. Oh yeah. Oh God, help me. I'm dying. Right? Everybody knows God when they're gonna die. But they don't know God until they die. It's convenient. Very convenient. Let me tell you first off who God is and how you came about. Okay, this is where it's going to start, because I just got through making a big, nice video and lost it. Lost the video because of the circumstances. The circumstances that keep things from happening. What things keep things from happening? It's negative energy. The negative energy in life. In ourselves, we create the negative energy. The withdrawal of life. We don't want things. We like despair. We like to think bad. God is life. I'll prove it to you. First off, ask your parents where they come from, how they met. Ask them, they could have been from different parts of the world. They could have been next door neighbors. They could have been childhood sweethearts. Whatever. There's always a story behind how your parents met. The fact of the matter is, God chose your parents. God had to choose your parents. Why did God choose you? Because you're going to figure it out that God had to manipulate your parents' lives. And you was already born. Because you had to be born. The day God chose your parents, He had the blueprints right in front of Him. The DNA blueprints of your mother and father together. So He's able to create you. The moment He saw you, He had the plans to create you. He had the blueprints from your father and blueprints from your mother to put them together and create you. The only time it could have happened that way. What was fresh in Him, the way He had the ability, and the time was exactly then. This is what I'm trying to tell you. That God had to choose your parents, and the only time God could have created you was when he had the first chance. When he chose your mother and father, the DNA, they could have been 5 years old. Then all through life, he had to manipulate their lives. All kinds of things, but he had to finally get them to where they meet in life to have you. The second time. The first time you was created by God, he gave you life, and he placed you in everybody's DNA that was in your family. Everybody's DNA in your family. You know this because you're alive in your children, and your children are living in you. We call it the soul. It's the same as the DNA. The soul is your DNA. Your deceased parents, they're living in you. Your deceased brothers, sisters, grandparents, aunts, uncles, everybody in your bloodline is living in you. You know this, and you're living in them. They're living in you, you're living in them. We can't die, we're all immortal. Now, when your parents met and had to meet each other to have you, God had to manipulate that life. There's no doubt about it. You can't even think any other way. You know this is true. God had to manipulate your lives for your parents to be and to have you. At that particular time, when you conceived, Psalms 139 will tell you, he knew when your parents made you in secret. Yep, God knew when your parents made you in secret. Of course he was there. He was there to invite your father into your mother's embryo, into the womb. She's already into the womb. He had to keep God had to keep everybody else out. Said, come on, I've been waiting for you. And he had to make the opening, let you in, and shut the door and keep everybody out. Nobody has two fathers. Okay? So that tells you right there that God is everything. And then when the second that you let your father into your mother, he followed. Part of him followed. His donation was life. I give you life. Now God's inside you. Where did God get off being put in heaven or another dimension when God's living inside you? Religions and everybody has separated us, our thinking, to thinking God is somewhere else. You have to read books and you have to go to edit them. I was a crane operator for 35 years. It was always the only one that came between me and my levers was God. God had to pull a lever or push a button before I could pull a lever and push a button. Out of the 5 senses, there's actually 6. Thinking is the 6th sense. You can't feel, see, hear, smell. See, hear, smell, taste. And you can't think without God. You can't even think. And this is far beyond feeling. Thinking is the process of all those. You know? I guess because you can't, I guess. But the point of the matter is you have to think about all those are the sum of your thoughts. You think you taste something. You think you hear something. You think you smell something. You think it's all part of thought. Electricity can't think. No, any other kind of life cannot think. So you are light. God is life, and God lives inside you. We even say Jesus lives in your heart. Well, I guess Jesus is closer than God to us. Can't be. Jesus said on the cross, before he was crucified, he says, I go to be with my Father and be at his right-hand side. Where's the right-hand side of the heart? It's the right-hand side of the body. If Jesus was going to be with the Father, then how can you separate the two? Jesus even said, I'm going to be with the Father. God and Jesus are in the same place, and that's inside you. If Jesus is in your heart, God's in you. That's according to Christians. But no matter what, I'm going to tell you, ever since God made the messenger, he came to me in 2019 with the God's message. It's always been pretty much negative towards everything humanity's doing and they've done. They don't realize what they've done. They don't realize what they're doing. I learned so much about what's happening, so much damage. I can understand why God doesn't want anything to do with humanity. When killing is the norm, how could the Jews have gone through and walked across the Red Sea after he parted, while they parted it, and they closed it back on Pharaoh's army? And then it said that means God killed all the Egyptian army, and God's a murderer. No, God's not a murderer. The Bible wrote this as God's a murderer. God murdered the Egyptians. God murders people. Make God a murderer, but they don't call themselves murderers. They wrote the books. They wrote the Torah. They wrote the Bible. They wrote the Quran. Man wrote these books, and they were murderers. So why would these books be accurate? Why would any book be accurate when they make themselves look like heroes going from murders, and they call God a murderer? No. God made the commandment. I mean, this is what the point I was making. That they just not only got us the Red Sea and part of the Red Sea, but then they got the 10 Commandments. The 10 Commandments right away said, thou shalt not kill. What part of it do we not understand? Is God killed, but yet God tells us, thou shalt not kill. Contradiction. The whole thing is all a fabrication. What's inside the Bible, what's inside the Torah, what's inside the Quran is a fabrication. I'm not saying there's not truth in it. I'm saying it is manipulated to make themselves look like heroes. They had to make themselves look good. Oh, there's plenty of truth in the Bible, in the Torah and the Quran. There's plenty of truth in it. But it's still written in a sense to make themselves look like heroes. They had to manipulate the Bible. They had to manipulate the Quran. They had to manipulate the Torah. Okay, you know your parents. You was born again. When you got after 9 months inside your mother, you was alive inside your mother in the water. The Bible says, lest you be born of the water and of the Spirit. You was born in the Spirit when God created you, right at the same time he chose your mother and father. Whether it was 20 years before, or in the case of Sarah, she was 79 years old. So years later. 79 years. 77, I think. Years later. So there's a long time can be between the time when God chooses you, when you're going to be born, when He creates you and puts you in your DNA. That's what He did. He put you alive in your DNA. You was born of the Spirit. When Sarah was 77 years prior to Sarah being born, guess what? Or Ishmael being born. I mean, I get it wrong. When Isaac was born, 77 years later. So Isaac was born the first time of the Spirit, 77 years before he was born by Sarah. That's a long time. It could be a whole long time, but God had to manipulate their lives